4 dead, 3 captured, and 1 what was accounted for? Unaccounted for. 1 policeman, as we heard before, was killed. It sounds like the news is as bad as it can be.
It's going to be hell to pay.
It's a terrible burden, of course, for the Germans.
Yeah.
Because this was very much a case, I think, of damned if they let them get away, and damned if this kind of situation occurred.
Getting this from all kinds of sources now, but I would think the one that's official is the Bavarian Minister of the Interior.
He's the one who has been, of course, not only the principal negotiator running those negotiations today, but also the man from whom most of the reliable news reports we've had throughout the day on our position in the village have come.
Now they say, instead of the hand grenade story, that this has been changed, that after they opened fire, that the Arabs who were left alive turned on the hostages and killed them. If they're dead, it doesn't really matter which way it was. We're trying to get
What is
straight.
the figure they're giving on the hostages, the number of hostages dead?
They are saying that they don't, I think what they're saying is that they do not know of any hostages who are alive, but they are holding on to the possibility that one of them might have wandered away.
The numbers dilemma has been a very difficult one for us all day, Jim. As you know, you and I were talking most of the day about 9 hostages and 4 commandos, and when they came out and got in the bus and went to the helicopters, it then appeared there were more commandos than we had anticipated. So I suppose to play with figures now is dangerous.
Well, they're now saying 9 hostages dead. Now, apparently that means at the airport. If it does, it would mean everybody, because 2 were killed earlier. If it means 9 hostages dead altogether, then a couple could be left alive. We're talking about the Israeli members of the Israeli Olympic team have been killed here today in this report we're getting now. Athletes who have spent their lives developing their bodies to the peak of perfection to try to do one thing better than anybody else in the world can do it. Now we get a report that a helicopter pilot, the helicopter pilot, was seriously injured in this battle out at the military airport. It's a story I find no hope and nothing to say in at this point. Do you?
It can only bring to mind, I think, for me, and I'm sure for Lou too, the futility we often feel as reporters in covering the Middle East, because we sometimes think that the 2 sides are approaching some kind of understanding, and then they drift apart again, or in the case of today, are jolted dramatically apart. The Middle East, Israel and the Arab countries, is like one of the evil pendulums of history, which just goes back and forth, hitting all sorts of inconsistency and misunderstanding every time it makes a move.
It's a terribly ironic thing that of the areas in the world, this is one of the areas in the world that they really need peace, both the Israelis and the Arab nations. They've got to have peace. They've had too much war. They've spent their young people, they've spent all their money on wars. Now they have a chance to build their nations. These nations, and of course, they're compatible. The Arabs and the Israelis are perfectly compatible as far as I can tell. Economically, even politically, one of these days. And now, as you say, Peter, you're quite right. They've been jolted apart again, as they were seeming to come just a little closer, a little hope.
Now it's hard to know what's going to happen here at the Olympics. Everything that's been set up to now, I think quite possibly could be changed. Here we just get the word that the hostages have been killed at 3:30 in the morning. There's a memorial service in 6.5 hours. It's hard to imagine athletes running out on the field right after that and the Olympic Games resuming, isn't it?
Or getting a medal hung around your neck and screaming and smiling and giving happy news conferences on the air for us. It is difficult to imagine. I don't know.
It was interesting what Chancellor Brandt said tonight, and that is that, and certainly that was before the magnitude of the death was known, which was this is a very difficult decision for the Germans to make, because it would be hard, as you said, Jim, to indulge in games again, and yet difficult to allow small groups of people with a maximum of power over a minimum period of time to control the destinies of so many other people. It will be a very difficult decision for the Germans.
We've just gotten the final word. You know, when I was a kid, my father used to say, our greatest hopes and our worst fears are seldom realized. Our worst fears have been realized tonight. They've now said that there were 11 hostages. 2 were killed in their rooms yesterday morning. 9 were killed at the airport tonight. They're all gone. At the press conference, reporters were not allowed to ask questions. But it's all over. The Israeli Olympic team is destroyed, much of it. Some of their officials. The Arabs, 3 of them are still alive in hospitals someplace. But what will happen to the games of the 20th Olympiad, none of us know. What will happen to the course of world history, we don't know. I have nothing else to say.
Well, we always boasted, Jim, in building up to all of our Olympic coverage, that this was the last arena, the Olympic Games, where people of different philosophies could come together in a very peaceful way. And, of course, that's been shattered.
But they did come together
Right.
in a peaceful way. That's the thing. They did come together in a peaceful way. And the
Yeah,
kids,
they did.
the kids did compete honestly, and they did do all these things together. They were outsiders
Right.
that came in. It was an outside influence. It had nothing to do with the Olympic Games. It had nothing to do with these kids. And as Peter has pointed out, I think Peter's right. It had nothing to do with the Arabs or the Palestinians or the Israelis or anybody. It had something to do with a crackpot organization that did this crackpot thing and destroyed some young people, some great young people.
I think we're going to hear a great deal in the next few days from various Arab countries, and we're going to hear a great deal from Israel. All of it couched in very general accusatory terms. And I think when we hear it, it will probably suit us well to think back, A, on what the tragedy was here today, but B, on the atmosphere in which it happened. Because the atmosphere of the next few days is going to be far from peace and brotherhood on anybody's terms.
We are told that in the midst of this, everything goes on. There's going to be a station break coming up here at some point. Okay, the word I get is to inform you stations around the country there'll be a 33-second station break at the end of what our little talk here, after which regularly scheduled programming will resume. Whether the regular schedule of the Olympic Games will resume would seem to hang very much in the balance here. The only thing that is certain, and it should be quite a scene, is that the athletes of the world are going to gather in, what we say, 6.5 hours in the great Olympic Stadium, the stadium built with such hope and filled with such magnificence 3 times every day to watch the athletes perform. It will no doubt be filled with 80,000 people on this hopeless morning in Bavaria to somehow try to find some solace for themselves and for the poor old world in what's happened here tonight. If it's not the end of the Olympics, it's sure the end of the Olympics of serenity, isn't it?
Peter, do you anticipate a news special? You being here, covering for ABC News, and as a member of our ABC Sports team, do you plan a special coverage of this beyond what we've done here?
Yes, in fact, Chris, we had planned a special to immediately follow your program. Now, I'm somewhat lost on time programming and the like, and whether the schedule is still intact. But as far as I know, a new special, which we will do to follow this almost immediately, is still on the boards.
All right, Peter Jennings.
That's the only time we nail your Canadian origins, when you say schedule, right? You say Zed?
Sometimes, but I won't tonight if you prefer.
Jim, how about a 2-minute wrap-up? You worked so hard today and so well. How about a 2-minute wrap-up on the events of the day?
It was almost 24 hours ago. The rap on the door in the middle of the night in the Israeli team headquarters in the Olympic Village at the Games of the 20th Olympiad. A man tried not to open the door. It was battered down. He struggled and he was killed. His name was Moshe Weinberg, coach of the Israeli Olympic wrestling team. Another man was killed shortly thereafter, an athlete, a weightlifter. A long, long, tense day was gone through. As it turned out, just a few minutes ago, we found out totally in vain. Negotiations at the high levels, negotiations at the low levels, and endless talk, endless looking out the window by the lookouts for the Arab guerrillas, and finally the ride in the bus to the waiting helicopters, the ride to the airport, and then those terribly optimistic reports that were sent back by spokesmen from the airport that the hostages were well, that they had been recovered, and that they were okay. And then the reports filtering back hold everything. Apparently the reports were optimistic. And then finally the report that we now have. All of the hostages are dead. Most of the Arabs are dead. 3 of them are in hospitals, and 1 of them may still be on the loose, being hunted in the hills of Bavaria. The Olympics are in doubt. Thank you, gentlemen. Good night.
This is ABC.
In 1852, Wells Fargo Bank placed an advertisement that promised to handle our clients' banking transactions with promptness and dispatch. Today, we still make that same promise, and we've been keeping our promises to you for 120 years because we want your business. Wells Fargo Bank. We deliver. Always have.
To get into the village, we managed to get in and out fairly easily. But the complaint really all the time at the village was that the security was too great rather than too loose. Some of the athletes complained. One of our girls, Olga Connolly, the captain of the team, said that actually security at this village was greater than any of the other Olympic Games that she'd been to, and she's been to a lot of them. So the complaint was that the security was too much, at least from the athlete's point of view.
Can you tell us what the reaction to the events was from the other athletes who were there?
Well, you know, it's curious. A majority of the athletes during the early part of the day, at least, didn't really realize what was happening. When we got to the village, very few athletes knew that there had been this tragedy. It was actually down at one end of the village, down a long street, and so it was somewhat isolated. It was about midday before they really realized the seriousness of the event. And as it was, German television carried the greatest detail of the event.
We're having a bit of trouble with our satellite, Robert, so we're going to continue.
Lost the picture.
Yes. The group responsible for today's murders calls itself Black September. Sources familiar with its activities say its adherents number about 250. They are extremely militant and in some cases suicidal. The name Black September comes from the days in September of 1970 when Jordan's King Hussein drove the Palestinian guerrillas out of his country. Sources say Black September is currently without a leader, and that a struggle for power is going on within its ranks, which may account for the daring kidnapping in Munich. The leader of the group was killed when a bomb wrecked his car a month and a half ago in Lebanon. Avram Zaritsky, an NBC News producer, recently spent a month on the Israeli-occupied west bank of the Jordan River. He is here now with some observations on Arab-Israeli relations.
I've just come back from a month's visit to the west bank of Jordan, which is now held by Israel. I spoke to dozens of Palestinian Arabs who live there, plus others who had come there for a summer visit. Most of the Arabs I talked to were former government officials, students, intellectuals, and professionals. Not one had any praise for the Palestinian guerrilla movement. Most felt that acts of violence would not lead to a solution of the Palestine problem. A former foreign minister of Jordan told me that the Arab terrorist movement had achieved nothing. They made headlines, he said, plus committed senseless acts of violence. But for the Palestinians themselves, they had achieved nothing. One student who had sympathized with the Arab guerrillas, but now is disillusioned, said, "We were the guerrillas when we needed them. They are just publicity seekers and self-serving opportunists." If there is any support for the Arab guerrillas, it is not apparent on the occupied West Bank. There have been no major incidents there against Israelis for more than 2 years. And yet physically, the West Bank, with its hilly terrain, is a perfect setting for guerrilla activity. In the Arab world, as in most places, nothing succeeds like success. But the Arab guerrillas have not made a single political gain for the Palestinians. And as a result, most Palestinians are disillusioned with them.
Some observers feel the acts such as the one carried out today in Munich and the recent massacre at the Lod airport in Israel indicate the guerrillas have lost much of their political power, much of the power they once had, and are now resorting to ever increasing episodes of insane violence. We have in our studios in Washington Shmuel Segev, Washington correspondent for Maariv, a leading daily newspaper in Israel. He has written extensively on Arab guerrilla activities. Mr. Segev, could you say something about the psychology of the Palestinian terrorists?
Well, I think that one who examines the activities of the Arab guerrillas must conclude that Arab political assassinations is a permanent phenomenon in the Middle East. At least one king, 2 prime ministers, several ministers, and countless of innocent people have died as a result of guerrilla activities. One would find it very difficult to define a kind of a common psychology for all the guerrilla organizations. I heard your remarks before. I perfectly agree with your conclusions that the various guerrilla groups are losing ground. They have lost much in the Arab countries. They did not achieve anything in Israel, and as a result, they are reverting now to activities outside the area. I may add that, to my knowledge, this is the only so-called liberation movement which is fighting a war outside Israel, and because anybody can ask whom they are going to liberate. Are they going to liberate Germany or Italy or France? The fact is that they did not gain anything in Israel, and that's why they are going now to Europe.
Do we have time to ask one more question?
Of course.
All right. What I was wondering, in remarking about the loss of political power, how do you account for that? Now, you have this tremendous splintering of the Arab groups in the Middle East now, and this one that we've been dealing with today and a few incidents in the past, the Black September, seem to be extremely radical. What has happened to the other Palestinians?
Well, the biggest group is the Fatah. Of course, has lost ground. Now there are 2 other groups, the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, and another splinter group, which has a similar name, which both were crashed during the civil war in Jordan in 1970. Now, as a result of that civil war, was born the Black September, and the Black September is trying to find a kind of a recognition inside the guerrilla movement. Incidentally, today, I think, there is a meeting in Damascus of the various guerrilla organizations. They are struggling for power. They are competing one against each other. They are struggling against the leadership of Yasser Arafat because they think he is not radical enough, he is not extreme enough, and that's why they are trying to define a new strategy. I guess that the Black September is trying to influence the Palestinian public opinion. They know that they cannot achieve anything against Israel, but at least they are trying to convince the Palestinian public opinion or the Arab public opinion that more radical movement or more radical activity could lead to something. But judging from the results of the insane action of today, I think that it will be hard.
Mr. Segev, we are running short on time. Thank you for joining us. We just had what appears on the surface to be some bad news from Munich. Hans Klein, who is the press officer of the Olympic Committee, announced just a few moments ago that a news conference would be held, apparently later tonight. He wasn't specific, saying that he would have some grave news that may indicate that more of the hostages are dead than was at first indicated. There is no way of knowing what will happen next, whether the Israelis will conduct reprisals for today's events. They have in the past. And again, it's hard to tell what effect all this will have on the future of the Olympic Games. A memorial service for the 2 Israelis killed today will be held tomorrow morning. And Avery Brundage, president of the International Olympic Committee, said tonight the Games would resume tomorrow afternoon. I'm Jim Hartz, NBC News, New York.
Back in 1893, Dave Lennox built his first furnace. Little did he know that as the years passed, someone would ask, why not add something that cools? Today, the name Lennox is found on total indoor comfort systems, nifty weather machines that warm, cool, even clean the air and control humidity in homes and buildings. Attaboy, Dave. Look in the yellow pages for Lennox quality systems.
Nice going, Dave.
So wine, white Lancers wine. Lancers imported Vinho Branco is crisp and cool, light and white, but never timid or shy. Vinho Branco means white wine. Who knows what it will mean to you?
That's dirt waiting for your engine. Dirt wants to foul up your engine. Dirt wants your car to stall. But a good detergent gasoline like Mobil can help stop dirt. Going my way, dirt has an enemy. Mobil detergent gasoline.
Two moments to bring you this late word from Munich, West Germany. A West German government source said early Wednesday morning, West German time, that all 9 Israeli hostages held by the squad of Arab commandos in Munich are dead. The government source also said that 4 of the Palestinian guerrillas were dead, 3 were captured, and that 1 was unaccounted for following a gun battle with police at a West German Air Force base near Munich. 1 policeman was reported killed. A spokesman said terrorists who were not hit in the opening shots by in which they and the hostages had been carried from the Olympic Village to the Air Force base. The hostages were killed, the source said, after they endured a day of terror in their Olympic Village headquarters where 2 of their countrymen had been killed in earlier fighting. Once again, a West German government source said that all 9 Israeli hostages held by the Arab commandos in Munich, West Germany, have been killed. This is Jim Hartz, NBC News. Good night.
In October.
This is Duke Anderson, about to attempt the coolest heist you ever saw in the movie that electrified theatergoers last year, The Anderson Tapes. Sean Connery and Diane Cannon star on NBC Monday night at the movies at 9, 8 Central Time.
On a 2 to...
This is a capsule of vitamin E. Many things have been said about it, but one fact has recently been proven. Vitamin E applied to the skin can help prevent perspiration odor. The Menon Company has put this discovery to a very practical everyday use. Menon E, an effective family deodorant that is kind to the body. It's called Menon E because it's made with vitamin E. Menon E, a new era in deodorant protection.
Henry, what is it?
It's Munchos.
Charlie, what is it?
It's Munchos.
Munchos, the new potato snack. So different, so delicious, so doggone munchy. Everybody wants to know what it is.
There's a long fly ball. It's going.
What is it? What is it?
It's Munchos.
New Munchos from Frito-Lay.
Here are some scenes from our exciting new season of Cannon.
That car there, follow him. I'm with the DA's office. Didn't you hear me? I'm following a suspect. I'm Mike Arnold with the DA's office.
Well, Mike Arnold wants to see you at police headquarters right away.
Why didn't he call me himself?
Because he's being questioned about the murder of his wife.
Alice?
Was there somebody else? Was Alice playing around with somebody else?
A boyfriend, a lover? No.
Yes, I liked her. What I did was no crime. You can't arrest a man for having an affair.
Burglary, auto division, commercial auto theft. B-A-D-C-A-T, bad cat, right?
Now, Mike was obsessed with that.
The donkeys take an identification number from a wreck they find in a junkyard. Then they go out on the street and find a model just like it to steal it. Then they exchange the identification numbers, and the hot car becomes legitimate.
Join us for Cannon at our new time, beginning Wednesday, September at 10 o'clock.
Sunday on CBS. Have we got a night for you?
Have we got a call for you? You are school teacher.
Anna and the King. MASH.
You two are going to be court-martialed.
Hey, that's terrific.
The Sandy Duncan Show.
Have we got a call for you?
The new Dick Van Dyke Show. Sunday nights, this fall, on CBS.
Germany.
This is Frank Tomlinson, ABC News, Los Angeles. This has been a day of tragedy at the Olympic Games in Munich. For the first time in history, the Olympic Games have been postponed. Olympic officials have announced that all 8 of the Israeli athletes taken hostage by Arab guerrillas early this morning have been killed. This makes a total of 10 Israelis killed. 2 others were killed early this morning when the Arab guerrillas took the members of the Israeli team hostage at their living quarters in the Olympic Village. After hours of negotiations, the Arabs refused to release the Israeli athletes. A helicopter was brought in to Olympic Village and flew the Arab guerrillas and their hostages to Fürstenfeldbruck. That's a West German airbase some 30 miles from the Olympic site. Special German marksmen had been flown in from Wiesbaden. Reports said the Arabs wanted to take the Israelis to an Arab country to try to trade them for Arab guerrillas being held by Israel. At Fürstenfeldbruck, German sharpshooters opened fire on 2 of the terrorists after they inspected a 727 jet they wanted to use. A 2-hour gun battle broke out. One of the Arab guerrillas set off a hand grenade in a helicopter, killing himself and the 8 Israelis, plus a helicopter pilot. The final death toll, 15. And now, a special report from ABC in Munich recorded earlier today.
The Olympic Games are being brought to you by Sears Roebuck & Company, backing the United States Olympic team all the way. Sears, the American team, the American store. By Toyota, builders of quality cars for over 35 years. Get your hands on a Toyota. You'll never let go. And by Texaco, and the many thousands of Texaco retailers and distributors in all 50 states. Trust Texaco to have the right gasoline for you. Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Chris Schenkel, host for the Games of the 20th Olympiad here in Munich, Germany. Not the same Chris Schenkel that's been greeting you with each of our shows, the beginning of them, because today has been a most unusual day, where the Olympic Games ceased to be purely a sports story and became very hard and horrifying news. But despite the stark backdrop, competition did continue until mid-afternoon when the Games were suspended. We will show you that competition because in gaining the exclusive rights to the Olympic Games, we at ABC made the commitment that we would report all the facts as the Games unfold and any political influence or any of the problems that might surround the Games here at Olympic Park. And that's exactly what we're going to do for the next hour and a half. My colleague, Jim McKay, who was joined by Howard Cosell, Peter Jennings, and John Wilcox while I was sleeping, resting up for tonight's what I thought would be a normal show, has spent 18 hours or more covering this horrifying story. And Jim, we hate to keep you up this late, but you were on the scene and on hand, and naturally, you can give us a first-hand report.
Well, I was in the studio here, to be absolutely accurate, Chris,
Yes.
as you know, about
couple hundred yards from where this was taking place. Peter Jennings was inside the village. So was Howard, and John Wilcox, producer of our film unit, was closest of all on a walkie-talkie. Should we take a look at the tape and see how this day progressed?
Well, first let me ask you something. Where were you when you got word to come to the studio?
I was in bed like everybody else. Well, I was actually at the swimming pool, and I didn't find out I had my swimming trunks on until 2 hours ago. That's right. They're still on underneath. But, Chris, this was the Olympic Village, as it has looked, as you know, all through the games with the pool, athletes sunning themselves there and bathing there, and some of them were even today while this activity was going on. There's the big television building, and the crowd gathered behind that fence. That fence, just about at the spot where you're looking right now, is where these terrorists, the number of them still kind of confused, but apparently somewhere between 5 and 8, disguised as athletes with some of their faces blackened, one of them possibly wearing a blonde wig, climbed over the fence and went into that smallest building you're looking at there, and on the right-hand end of it, just under the little penthouse, that's it, right there, those 2 floors, those suites of rooms, they entered the room banging on the door, then breaking down the door, killing one man immediately, Moshe Weinberg, the coach of the Israeli wrestling team. This is another view, a close-up view of the room where all day long a head kept appearing out the door, ahead of a lookout, as it did down from there you see him peeking around as he did. It became a maddening sight as the long day went on. First, they said that they were going to kill the hostages by noon. They extended that deadline to 5 o'clock, moved it back to 3, again to 5. That deadline went long past. Here's the man with the white hat. He became the central figure. Apparently one of the terrorists who acted as liaison. We're not sure he was one of the terrorists, but he certainly was the liaison man all through the day. This certainly appears to be a woman. All day long we had reports that one was a woman, and this appears to be she. Meanwhile, the security was tightened up at the gates. The demands that they had made, principally, these are border guards, the Bundesgrenzschutz, I think is what they call them. The German army, under law, could not come into a situation like this, but these men technically are not army, or they're very well trained. So it was Munich police, plainclothesmen like these, with their submachine guns, man with his very much cocked and at the ready, and getting it ready right now, who were going to make the assault if there was going to be an assault. Late in the afternoon, it looked like there would be an assault. Men climbed on the rooftops and so forth. We may see some of that. But this was earlier when 10 truckloads of these border guards pulled up right outside our ABC headquarters. The building you'll see in the background just past those buses is what's been dubbed Barnatham's Bungalow here after our vice president in charge of engineering. And just to the left of that and out of view is the production building in the studio where you and I are sitting right now. The crowd gathered. Some people estimated that around the entire village, which is a long area fence, there might be 70 or 80,000 people. And the demands, I started to say before, Chris, were principally that some 200 Arab guerrillas being held prisoner in Israel should be freed. And now we're looking at the volunteers, the 38 German volunteer policemen, who are going to be a perhaps deadly squad to go in athletes' uniforms and the sweatsuits that have become the thing we've seen around here. Look at that, a strange sight, isn't it? The man in the sweatsuit with a submachine gun.
And what the West Germans had hoped is on the far side of the car, the young men with the white caps. They are police officers, but to keep things in perspective, to get the onus off World War II, they dressed their guards around Olympic Park in street clothes, very attractive, the colors of the games.
And even today, Peter Jennings said from inside the village that even at the height of this, those men were just as polite as they had been all week. They were very strict, of course, today, but they were quietly turning people back. The demands, the release of the hostages, they also wanted a series of 3 airplanes to take the Israeli hostages, with one airplane to leave and the other one not to leave until it was reported the first one had gotten to its unknown destination. All this talk was going on as armored cars moved into the Olympic Village, a sight that had never before been seen at Olympic Games. Then the demonstrations started. People almost didn't know what to write. Sport, not murder, they wrote, and Stop the Olympic Games Now, I think is on the one at the right. Well,
today to stand out in the crowd, and that's all right with me because I've been standing out in the crowd all my life, so to speak. Every time I stand up, I get noticed. And wearing attractive clothes is something I think a man should do, and I like wearing something that smells attractive also. And to me, Brute says it all there. And after the game, I head for the shower, and after the shower, I head for the Brute, and after the Brute, well, I'm gone.
Brute by Fabergé. After shave, after shower, after anything.
applauded for its concept, acclaimed for its production, admired for its success. This September, Movie of the Week expands its success story to 2 evenings. The Tuesday and Wednesday Movie of the Week. 2 exciting world television premieres every week. This September, the Tuesday and Wednesday Movie of the Week.
Quite a day, 4th full day of competition here at the 20th Olympiad. Tomorrow, at 8 o'clock and 7 Central Time, you'll be seeing these events. The beginning of track and field tomorrow, the core of the Olympic Games. Mark Spitz going for his 4th gold medal in the 100 butterfly. The finals in wrestling. In gymnastics, the individual apparatus championships. There will be more boxing, and you'll see weightlifting for the first time. And of course, there will be many, many others as we have an Olympiad that features 21 sports. And now let's look at the unofficial team medal standing with the United States, 22. East Germany, 15. The Soviet Union, a total of 11. And now our salute to today's gold medal winners, John Ryder in the small bore rifle and the 4 young ladies that won the 4x100 relay. Olympic Games are being brought to you by Weyerhaeuser, the tree-growing company for lumber, plywood, paper, packaging, and thousands of other products from wood. By Schlitz, you only go around once in life, so you reach for all the gusto you can, even in the beer you drink. Why settle for less? When you're out of Schlitz, you're out of beer. And by Brute for Men by Fabergé. After shave, after shower, after anything. Brute by Fabergé. Be back tomorrow at 8, 7 Central for our ABC team. Chris Schenkel saying Gute Nacht from München.
This is ABC.
The story tonight of a scheme to blow up the Milwaukee airport and a group of protesters claiming that Catalina Island is actually Mexican. We'll have an exclusive report tonight.
The mysterious Howard Hughes flies off again, and a structured piece of wood sells for a fortune.
Also tonight, more on the alien smuggling problem and a report on the downpour that never happened. Next on Eyewitness News.
Hello, young lovers. Won't you try some good cold Boone's Farm Strawberry Hill?
Oh, how
yeah,
nice.
Great. Boone's Farm Strawberry Hill. It captures the taste of fresh strawberries. Now, doesn't that wine taste good?
You're right, Grandma.
Precious.
Where'd you go?
Look, she left this Strawberry Hill.
One sip, and it's Strawberry Hill forever.
Try looking at a Volkswagen this way. It's the only small car which leaves nothing exposed beneath it, and the VW is built to take a little punishment. In fact, it's practically airtight. Now, what other kind of car at Volkswagen's kind of price gives you this kind of quality?
That George Kirby show is going to be loaded with a lot of variety. Singing, dancing, great stars, great talent.
Channel 7, KABC TV, Los Angeles. This is Eyewitness News, the 11 o'clock report with Joseph Benty, John Schubeck, and the Eyewitness News team.
Good evening. As you can see, Joe Benty is still not here tonight. He's on vacation. Joining us this week, Joel Daly. As a matter of fact, this is a Midwestern story we begin with tonight. The FBI is trying to determine if a threat to blow up the Milwaukee airport was a hoax or the work of a deadly, serious extortionist. The bizarre incident began this morning when a man called to report a bomb was planted at the airport. Reporter Martin Jacobs has details from Milwaukee.
It was described by airport officials as a professional job. For the first time in its history, Milwaukee's General Mitchell Field was closed down by a bomb threat. It all started this morning with a phone call to United Airlines officials stating there was a bomb in the airport terminal. The bomb was found in a locker, and along with it, a note demanding $100,000 ransom. The money was to be dropped by parachute from a plane circling over Watersmeet in the upper Michigan Peninsula, or else another bomb allegedly hidden at the Milwaukee airport would go off. The airport was immediately evacuated and closed to all traffic. A bomb disposal squad from Fort Sheridan, Illinois, was flown in to handle the detonation of the explosive device already in the hands of the authorities. Milwaukee County Executive John Doyne explained what happened next.
It was a device. It was a fake, though. It would not have exploded. It did have a watch on it. There was a battery hooked to it. They detonated, and they have it at the present time.
So as of now, Mitchell Field is reopened for business, and the plane which flew the money to Watersmeet has returned to Milwaukee. There's still no word on whether the money was actually dropped, whether the whole affair was a hoax, or if the extortionist might have been scared off by all the publicity. This is Martin Jacobs reporting from Milwaukee.
Sources say tonight that police in Michigan have had no contact with the extortionist, and the small plane returned to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The $100,000 still with the agents of the FBI. President Nixon is in Honolulu tonight, preparing for 2 days of high-level meetings with Japan's Prime Minister Tanaka. They are expected to ratify a trade agreement that was recently hammered out by both nations. Upon his arrival this afternoon, Mr. Nixon was greeted by the governor of Hawaii, John Burns, Mrs. Nixon sharing a moment under a brief shower, which you saw perhaps just a second or two ago, the grand umbrella of Pan American Airlines. Catalina Island is, thank you, we finally did see Mrs. Nixon. Catalina Island is occupied tonight by a group of militant Chicanos who are most serious in saying that the island belongs to those of Mexican extraction. Reporter Harold Green visited the island. Here he is with his exclusive report. Harold?
John, the Brown Berets call it a peaceful occupation of the island to dramatize the plight of Chicanos in this country. The people of Catalina had no idea the Berets were there until this morning. This large Mexican flag was displayed on a hill overlooking the harbor. 26 Berets have set up camp. It's run with military precision, but the Berets say they are not armed. In fact, they say their intention is not to fight, but to talk. So far, only a few people have ventured up to the hill to see what's going on, but when they see the uniforms and such, they scurry away. Police, meanwhile, are maintaining a low profile. The Prime Minister of the organization, David Sanchez, talked to me about the problems.
Such as youth going around, young Chicanos going around shooting other young Chicanos. This is only an extension of self-hatred and inferiority. This is a great problem, is that many Anglo-structured agencies who try to solve our problems, they're not able to understand our problems because they call for the denunciation of our culture. And if you denounce our culture, it has only brought inferiority and